Ladies and gentlemen of the wonderful internet, how's it going today, folks? Hope you're feeling well. I'm Icy Volk, and today we're here back again to take a quick look at Ori and the Blind Forest, a brand new platformer by indie developer Moon Studios, which is actually a brand new developing company scattered around all four corners of the globe. And the game is available for PC through Steam and Xbox One. So yesterday, I bought this game, and I've had my eye on it previously. And let me tell you, it is simply wonderful. It looks amazing. And when I first saw this game a couple months back, I was super interested. I went, I have got to play this because the artwork and the aesthetics and the engine are just fantastic, and so I have to get it. And I did get it yesterday night on release. So I've been waiting for a fun platformer to come out, and this one certainly surpassed my expectations. Now, Ori and the Blind Forest is the story of this strange glowing white creature named Ori who gets blown away from his home by a furious storm. He started out as a glowing leaf and then became this furry little creature that kind of looks like the guy from Lilo and Stitch. The game begins with a small cinematic in which you start playing as a gorilla-sized creature who kind of looks like one of the guys from the Studio Ghibli movies. And so you find Ori sleeping in the middle of the forest, and the story develops as the furry humanoid becomes Ori's mother figure, and the interaction between the two characters is depicted in short but very emotional sequences. So the entire relationship between Ori and the fur mother is incredibly adorable and very reminiscent of Disney movies and Studio Ghibli ones like My Little Neighbor Totoro. Now, the game then unfolds when the massive magical tree that you see in the background evokes Ori to come back and help sustain the realm, because, as we all know, Ori is one of the inhabitants of the magical tree. Now, the gorilla mom, however, who isn't so pleased about this, decides to keep and hide Ori in her cave. Now, because of that, the forest starts to wither, and the life in it slowly dies as well. And this, of course, leads to the gorilla's death, which causes Ori to fall into complete misery and loneliness. And so the weak and frail Ori then proceeds to wander around the depths of the forest, helpless without his parent. And as Ori's about to die, he is suddenly revived by the living, growing tree. And at this point in the game, this is where everything really starts. Now, the gameplay in Ori and the Blind Forest is absolutely refreshing. It's a Metroidvania with interesting mechanics. The visuals and the animation are charming and breathtaking. The 2D graphics look kind of almost 3D and are very similar to the graphics found in, let's say, Rayman Origins, and the aesthetics and visual effects in-game are just enchanting, and the areas are quite diverse considering that the world takes place in a forest, which, I mean, forests are usually green, but in Ori and the Blind Forest, it's got various tone colors. There's some blue in there, brown. There's a lot of variety that goes on in the environment. Now, although Ori and the Blind Forest might seem like just another trial and error type of platformer, the gameplay itself is extremely varied, I have to say. As you travel around the current area, there's a bit of everything for you to undertake: some combat, puzzle solving, and as well as some exploration. Now, the combat in this game is very straightforward. You basically spam your mouse button over enemies in close range while you're moving along. Nothing unique, really, but interestingly enough, you can improve your combat skills through the ability tree, which does provide a nice little RPG element to the game. Now, as you move along the Sunken Glades, the very first area in the game, you annihilate a variety of monsters and destroy all sorts of objects. The latter drop colored glowing orbs, which are crucial in the progression of Ori's adventure. The yellow spheres basically fill up your ability gauge, represented by a clockwise circle, which, once filled up, grants you an ability point, and the green ones provide you health, while the blue ones give you energy. And energy, which is typically found from blue crystals, is mainly used to perform special abilities. Otherwise, you can consume energy to create a save point through which you can access the ability tree, which is represented by a tree. I mean, after all, this game's about a forest and there are a lot of trees, so it's pretty obvious why the ability tree would look like a tree. And this is actually, the save mechanic is the only unique mechanic in the game, which you'll actually have to be careful with. Forget to make a save point or create one too frequently, and you might just put yourself in some big trouble. GG. The game also becomes more complex as you discover new mechanics and abilities, which you acquire by sucking out the light from these tree sanctuaries. And on top of that, the save mechanic, which is, no, I've already said that. Yeah, that's right. Let's move on. The puzzles in Ori and the Blind Forest are numerous and oftentimes different from each other, so sometimes you'll have to move certain objects around to reach a specific spot. Other times you'll just pull levers or destroy gates to access other locations. Overall, the environment is not only wonderful to look at, but also highly interactive. Now, the difficulty in Ori and the Blind Forest does spike at certain points, but shouldn't be extremely hardcore. Personally, I feel like the game falls right in the middle between casual and hardcore. It is difficult enough to be enjoyed by adult gamers, but bearable enough for younger players. And let's not forget that all of this is accompanied by an astounding orchestral score. You can really tell that the developer put in a tremendous amount of work in the soundtracks. The music is ethereal, non-repetitive, and very much soothing, and the sound effects are just as pleasant as the background music is. And finally, Ori and the Blind Forest is a fun game so far. I've only put in an hour or two into the game, so I just cannot wait to play more of it. I'd say this game is definitely worth its price. So if you're a huge fan of platformers, what are you waiting for? If you'd like to know more about the game, take a look at it at the official website as well as on the Steam page, which I will link you to down in the description below. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of Ori and the Blind Forest, and don't forget to stay tuned for upcoming content. ICVolk signing off. Enjoy the game.